Yeah, this is one of those videos that I'm sure a lot of people are not familiar with. Steve Coakley. I hope that people check this guy out. Rest in peace. But if we're speaking the word boule in the black community, you owe that information to Steve Coakley. He lost his livelihood. He lost everything because he brought that information back to us. In this presentation, we're going to see O.J. Simpson came back to the hood to speak with the people. Because once you learn about the go along, get along gang, and you know that it's real, and you become a victim of them, the only place you have left to go back to is home. And when the people back home don't accept you anymore, it's over. It's over. So what we're going to see here is that OJ came back to us. And there were people who were around OJ that made bridges to give us the information that we couldn't get in the hood. And slowly and systematically, these people were basically taken away. And then they were able to separate the bond we shared, the connection we shared with the entertainers that would silently help the community. They severed that bond. But, chronological order, history, understanding how things began is very important. But this is not about Steve Coakley right now. This one is about OJ. OJ came to the hood. OJ has been free. All of us love OJ because we understand how racist America can be at the time. Look at our relationship with OJ now. Look what we say about him now. He didn't go to trial a second time. He went to trial the one time. And we all stood with him and he was free. All of a sudden, somewhere along the line, everybody starts saying he's guilty as if he went to trial a second time. How did that happen? We're not going to talk about that, but let's hear what OJ has to say.
Come on up here, African. We appreciate you coming out tonight.
Excuse me. I guess what I'm essentially doing, I think I'm in an unusual situation, a situation that I certainly didn't plan to be in. My mother told me that, in her case, the Lord Jesus Christ, in her case, or Jesus Christ, I've been told lately because I am studying the Quran some, that the Lord is not a word I should be using when I mention Jesus Christ. But in any event, that I'm in a situation, I've been placed in a situation, and that you don't always end up doing in your life what you plan to do. Sometimes you're called to do things. At this point, I'm trying to find, I think through my experiences, basically what I am able to talk on, and I think I've gotten some firsthand knowledge on, is our place, what's happening to us in this legal system, and what the media is essentially doing to us. And I'm trying to find a way to mobilize and take advantage of this unusual situation that if I'm anything, I am an attraction at this point. There's something about this perceived infamy. I just got invited to go and speak to Oxford, of all places, in England. So I'm going there next week to speak in Oxford, and I'm trying to get my thesis together, or at least get it organized, so I'll be able to best communicate the things that I think I need to communicate, and I think that quite possibly all of this obviously means something, this thing that I've gone through. I focus on the media. I see what the media has been have done to me. Obviously, I see what it's done to everyone. I've paid a lot of attention to Marlon Brando a few weeks ago, and the things that Marlon Brando, that happened with Marlon Brando, and I don't understand why nobody tried to intellectualize exactly what he was saying there. They were able, the Jewish community was able to focus on shutting him up. And
Ooh, wait a minute. What did he say? The Jewish community was able to shut that man up. See, this is before the LGBT alphabet. This was our first boogeyman that we had to deal with as black people in America trying to come up. And then you have a system trying to leech off of you that say they're with you, but every chance they get, they only take from your gains while you lose from the gains that you made. So at this time in the 90s, the word you couldn't say or the people you could not speak about was the Jews. So now, all of a sudden, you still can't speak about them, but you don't think about it because you have another group, a boogeyman that you can't speak about, which they have made seem is bigger than the Jews. However, the boogeyman that we're all scared of is all funded by Jews. So we're going to see how this is very calculated, and the go along, get along gang is real. They have always been around. Not always, but as far as when it comes to entertainment and the elite society, we could get into that, but they've been around for a long time. And Steve Coakley brought the boule to our attention as black people. So when you hear any modern person today speak of the boule and they do not mention Steve Coakley, is because they are regurgitating information from somebody else and they didn't really do much research. Because they would know that whoever they got their information about the boule from got that information from Steve Coakley. Period.
days they had the man literally on his knees apologizing. Yet at the same time, we had some individuals, one a black man, who was able to make, to me, what was even more damaging remarks, racial remarks, when they talked about the jury in my case, that the minute that they saw this group of people, they knew they couldn't get a verdict. I think about my sister who's sitting right here. I think about my mother, and I think about that jury, because I saw a bunch of my sisters and mothers on that jury, and I was thinking, how could these people get away with saying that? I thought that was a slap in the face to every black person in America, that they were saying because they're black, that they can't make an informed decision, that they would let, if the evidence showed, a murderer go free.
Do you hear that? In this trial, there were black people on the jury. And that's why they saying that he was let go. So guess what? It's not a lot of black people on these juries anymore. Not to say that it always was, but in this trial it was. And they made sure to make an example of that. This brother came home, came back to the people, and they systematically turned the people right back against him. Does that sound familiar? Because it seems like it's happening again to another brother, just in a different generation. Pay attention, because if you don't know your history, you will allow it to repeat itself.
And I wondered why in the community I didn't hear, hey man, we want an apology. Right. And I realized that's because, well, in some areas we were getting that, and I realized that I don't know, some way we haven't been able to mobilize like the Jewish community has mobilized. I see a commercial, you see it, a movie started today called The Great White Hype. Yeah. And there's a line that he says that when I was in the theater and I saw it, and he was saying that, you know, black unity was like jumbo shrimp, you know, and and that has stuck with me. And I say it's supposed to be funny, but it isn't funny. It's just not something that we should be laughing at.
And guess what? They still feel that way because now they have established it to be that way. What black unity? Where? You guys see that somewhere?
So what I'm trying to do, and I'm spending some time with my brothers over here, Minister Tony, where is Mohammed? Did Mohammed come back? Abedin, who has really been helping me. Mabel over here, pardon me? Yes. Yeah, who have I've been meeting with, trying to find a way to mobilize this, try to find a way, what I call, there's a thing I call in the legal system. When I was down in county jail, sometimes your eyes are open. I think what I've done is something that, what my life has done, I should say, is something that's happened with a lot of black men in America. I grew up in the projects. You know, no one has to tell me you act black. Hey, I grew up in the projects. I know about being black. I am black. Most of the causes, once I started getting over at the end of the 60s, when after the riots here and everywhere, when Mr. Johnson, the president, said he had a directive to corporate America, we have to do something. We have to hire more blacks. Hey, OJ was the man. They hired me to be the first major spokesman for corporate America. And what I did was, over the years, I've been involved in the community financially. But what we tend to do is try, you were talking about it with these groups, the Brûlée, you tend to find yourself protecting your place in society. So what I thought is I can send money to the links. I can send money to my neighborhood. And you know, I was involved, but you tend to think that you're immune to some things. You know what's happening out there is still happening, but you're hoping it change, and you're really fooling yourself, saying...
We have an honest man here. A man who says that even in his position, he still did what he could to make sure that he could fund certain things for his community, for the black community, thinking that it would make some kind of change as far as how he would be treated because of his status. And he didn't, and he learned the hard way that no matter how much money you got, you are still a nigger. He learned that the hard way.
That everything's changed until I got down there to CJ, with the, county jail, which I now call CGPJ, county colored people jail, because there's all blacks and browns that I saw down there. And one of the things that I want to focus on is what I like to call selective prosecution. That we have a situation here where I noticed that the statistics of who commit crimes in this country is pretty indicative to what our population is. But who they decide to prosecute, it's totally out of whack, because they're prosecuting us and the Hispanics. They're not prosecuting the whites. And those are the areas that I'm trying to focus on. The media, how the media has treated us, how this unity thing. I just don't know how to go about it doing it. I didn't know. For the last 3 or 4 months, I've been formulating a lot of thoughts, getting a lot of information.
Imagine this. So you're saying that somebody like O.J. Simpson came to the hood, was spending time in the hood with us, trying to figure out or come up with an idea, how can we do this unity thing that the rest of the world think is impossible for us to do? Whatever happened? Did we even know these conversations were being had? Did we even know that these people tried? That OJ tried? Like, what happened? What went wrong? Oh, that's for future. That's for the future. For us to, in future videos. But, you might want to question that.
Reasons I'm here to listen to Brother Copeland is try to get some ideas that I could take over to Oxford with me, but I didn't know a way my forum or my venue or my microphone here in this country, what am I going to do? Who am I going to mobilize? I can talk now, people listen, but they will let me go on these white shows. They'll let me go on I'm trying to think of, but besides, oh, well, not BET, I'm talking about these Larry King is the name. They'll let me go on Larry King. They'll let me go on to Rollo if I talk about Bruno Magli shoes and gloves. Right. They don't want to hear, they don't want to hear the fact that, hey, you had to love it. Well, I can get very technical here. Larry King, they'll let me go on.
Hold on, because doesn't this sound familiar again? Because we have a brother who is from that elite space, who has come to amongst the regular folks, the common folk, as they would call it. And he said the same things, and he's actually trying to stop. Him and this guy is actually saying the same things about what their intentions is with the way black people are being portrayed, especially the entertainers, are being portrayed in the media. And he just said that they would allow him to come on these big platforms, these huge platforms like Larry King, if he's willing to talk about shoes and stuff that's not important to us, things that will not motivate us as a people in a positive way. Yeah. Well, let him finish speaking.
Rollo, if I talk about Bruno Magli shoes and gloves, right. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the fact that, hey, you had to love it. Well, I can get very technical here, but they don't want it. They don't want me when I question why in America we have a system of justice. When the Menendez's case came down the first time, you had 6 people on both of those jury, 12 people that voted for acquittal for those boys. 12 people, even though they went outside to reload, to come in, to finish their mother off. Didn't one person in the news say that that was a racist decision, that was racially motivated? But they're able to say that about my jury, and they're able to get away with it because we haven't been able to, evidently, we haven't been able to mobilize and put pressure on them. I believe that we have a Constitution in this United States that I'm noticing applies to everybody.
We haven't been able to put pressure on them, mobilize and put pressure on them. What did he say earlier? We haven't been able to organize and mobilize like the Jews and those other groups. We lose every time, and we're still losing because this isn't the first time we've been through this. We keep going through the same thing, and we're letting our brothers and sisters who are actually trying to help us in those positions, we're letting them become martyrs and sacrificial lambs, and we're not getting nothing out of it. We're actually helping our brothers and sisters in those positions be tortured and have a life of misery, trying to help. Unless they decide to say, fuck the rest of the people. I'm just going to care about myself. Is that what we want? Well, we'll learn about that later on in another video.
There and watch this boy, Ted Kennedy. Evidently, we haven't been able to mobilize and put pressure on them. I believe that we have a Constitution in this United States that I'm noticing applies to everybody. I sat there and watched this boy, Ted Kennedy, stand in moral judgment of Clarence Thomas. And I was saying, how can that happen? But this is America. He was convicted of nothing. I sat there and watched this guy, John Wayne Bobbitt, who a court decided his wife was justified in cutting his penis off. This man can go out, he can speak anywhere he want to speak, he can make tapes, and they will not even let me talk. I can't even buy advertising for my video. So I'm in the community. I'm trying to hang around people that I think can better educate me to the things.
He came back home for help. He has always been helping from where he was, but he came back home for help. And guess what? We was there for him. The generation before was there for him. What happened? What happened? What do we say about him now? How do we look at him now? What happened? See, that's why it's important to learn and do the research.
Come on.
Yeah. So that was O.J. Simpson back in the community. Steve Coakley brought him. And in some other videos we're gonna see in the future, we're gonna learn who Steve Coakley is and how important he is to the black community and to a lot of information that we say now we wouldn't have without Steve Coakley. Thank you.
Up here, African.